to Next in the Queue. I'm joined here with Gwendolyn. Happy to have you. Happy New Year-ish. It's kind of the end of January. So,
I feel like the year has just now begun today.
yeah, I feel like, did you have any New Year's resolutions or like ins and outs or
I definitely I feel like as the years have gone on, New Year's has sort of become less and less like a thing for me. I'm just always like, I don't want to overwhelm myself with too many intentions and things, but I definitely I'm just focused on music and like trying to be healthy and take care of myself. Those are like the two main things. I'm like, I need to work out, but I don't need to put like a regiment. I just need to move my body and I need to eat better, but I don't need to be strict.
yeah.
Anyways, just the little things in life.
Yeah, I feel like I have waves of caring about New Year's resolutions. I feel like, sorry, my cats, I'm just watching them. They're Sorry. They usually have the Zoomies in the morning. I don't know. They knew I was doing something, so they were like, need to make as much noise as possible.
Yeah, they want your attention.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just have waves of caring. I feel like here I care a little bit more.
This year you care. That's good.
Yeah, but I feel like the year started out bad for me just because I'm getting sick. I feel like I was wallowing and rotting.
Yeah.
Got sick because I just feel like once you once you're sick and then you're like in the process of getting better, it's just a lot of just laying in bed and lounging and doing nothing.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but when I'm sick, I, because I can't be productive with anything, I feel like I can't just like relax, when the
Yeah,
only thing I really need to do is just like chill, not
do things.
overwhelm things, but like I get so in my head about just watching movies for a day or like sleeping for a day. And then I feel like it just makes your healing worse.
Yeah, I totally get that. And so in an interview, you said that you started songwriting at the age of 12. What do you think like guided you slash influenced you to start?
I think I just was maybe bottling up a lot of emotions as a child and like wanted to just I think I always just loved writing
Mhm.
and expressing myself through that instead of talking.
Mhm.
And so it kind of became like a thing that was also it was like a little secret that I just did and it was only for me and no
Mhm.
one could hear it and I could write whatever I wanted and it was also I think like I would write like fantasies because I felt like my reality was not that cool. And then as I got older, it really became like, oh shit, actually, I'm going to write about the things that I'm feeling because that actually helps me process my life and experience. So it's not much fantasy anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you like what made you choose like songwriting as an outlet as opposed to like, being an author or like, some other sort of form of media.
Yeah, I think I just was always musical. Like my mom growing up always kind of like inspired me and encouraged me to sing and like I just have early memories of being in the car and listening to music with her and hearing her harmonize with songs and just kind of picking up what she was doing and like a little bird almost.
Mhm.
Um, and then when I was like, I don't know, probably like 10 years old, I remember going to church and my mom would basically bribe me in donuts if if she could hear me singing along, like with the songs. She's like, if I can hear you loud enough, like I'll get you a donut after. So obviously I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do that. Um, so I feel like that the musicality just kind of from there I think that's why I gravitated towards songwriting. But I do love just writing in general as well. So they kind of like go hand in hand to me.
Mhm. Yeah. I feel like when I was younger, I went home recently for
Mhm.
a break-esque,
Yeah.
things. Um, and I found like a book I was writing. Me and my sister found it and we read through it. It was so funny. And I didn't finish it and I left it on a cliffhanger. We were like, this was so fun to read. And I just feel like it's fun looking back and seeing like
Well,
what me was thinking. And
that's so cool. You can see that. I feel like I don't know where anything that I used to write in was. Actually, I did find an old song book the other day, and
well,
it was really bad. Like, just bad.
it's a sample.
First song in the book is called Dreamers. Like, I don't even know what I was smoking.
Yeah, I feel like as a kid, it's easy. I don't know. I feel like it's easier to dream about things. I feel like I was so much more creative when I was younger. I feel like now, especially like when I'm trying to think of things to do and like things to write about and like I don't know. I just don't even dream a lot anymore. Like I used to dream like crazy dreams,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
Yeah. It's wild as you get older. It's just like I think about it same with like fear. Like I used to love going on roller coasters and going to amusement parks and like now I remember going like a couple years ago and I hadn't been since I was younger and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so terrified." Like being on this roller coaster, I'm like thinking of falling off and dying and like all these things. The intrusive thoughts just like now are so loud.
Yeah, I feel like if I had gone to an amusement park, it would be like that. Because like I developed a free fear of planes randomly for no reason. And now I'm scared of planes and I have to like take meds to be on a plane. And then I recently hurt my leg. Like I had surgery like almost a year ago. And now whenever I see someone doing something dangerous, I'm like, oh my God, if you fall, you can like break your leg or you can like fall
Yeah.
do this one thing. I'm like,
Hmm.
it's so weird. Like your experiences like shape you into like thinking of all the things that you're gonna do.
Yes, they really do.
Yeah. And then so your sister was a big part of helping you start too. Like they introduced you to a songwriter.
Yeah, because at the time she was working in music. She's like 13 years older than me. So, like, when I was 12, 13, 14, she was like starting her work career in the industry. And she introduced me to a songwriter. And then she kind of just like, that sort of made me realize, oh, wow, you can do this as a thing. Like,
Mhm.
and so I became obsessed with writing and just like, how do I write songs for other people? And that was like at the forefront of what was driving me. And honestly, it was just like a good way to just get better as a writer,
Mhm.
just like a lot of practice. Not like I had a lot of success in that on that front, but what did make me realize I wanted to be an artist was going and seeing an artist perform a song that I had written or helped write. And I watched her perform and I was just like, oh, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And then from that point on, it was like, okay, how do I take these things that I learned as a writer and apply them to being an artist?
Mhm.
And it took me a long time, I think, because I don't know, I kind of like was still writing to try and impress other people or like write in a way that I thought people wanted. And then once the once COVID happened and like that whole I don't know, I feel like I shed a lot of old skin and I started fresh and it just felt kind of like, okay, now I'm only doing this because I want to write for me.
That makes a lot of sense. Do you think having a sister that is like much older than you like helps in a way, like having someone else to go to advice for? I feel like
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm the baby of the family. So I've had a lot of like people kind of looking out for me and maybe sheltering me to some degree. Also, they would be doing the leaf blower. Does it sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, it's always been really nice, like to have kind of like a guiding light and a protector. And I truly, we like, we're talking about this the other day. Like, I was like, I don't even know what I would be doing if it wasn't for like you
Hmm.
showing me this was a possibility. Like, I don't know if I would have like naturally, because when I was younger, I really wanted to be a chef, which is so random. Um, that was like my my dream. And yeah, sometimes I think about it, I'm like, she fully got me like onto this path. And now I can't see my life really any other way.
Yeah.
But I feel lucky. And I feel like my siblings and I are very close. Like we're best friends. And that is I don't know. I guess I realize more and more it is more rare than not.
Yeah, I've realized that too lately. Me and my sisters talk about that all the time. We're like, we could have hated each other. Like, I feel like that's so strange to me. I could never see that happening.
It is whenever I have friends that talk about like falling outs with their siblings, I'm just like, I can't imagine that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We're lucky. We're the lucky ones.
Yeah.
So you have sisters too?
Yeah, two sisters. Yeah.
Wow, we're twins.
And yeah, and I feel like also just culturally maybe it's just different because like my parents aren't from America. There's just like something about like like I feel like it's more community and like communal. I feel like living here, everything is like, oh, by 18, you're going to college and you're out of the house and you're independent. But I feel like my parents have never been like, once you're 18, you're out of here and you have to do all of these things. And I
Yeah,
think that's how it helped me foster bonds because it's like bonds are important in my family.
that's so true. My dad is an immigrant, and so I feel like his culture is very like and as well as my mom's. Like she's Italian. She grew up on the same street as her entire family. Like it's very like you congregate, you see each other on every Sunday. Like if you're not there, you get guilt tripped. If you move out of your parents' house, they're like, "Are you buying a house?"
Yeah.
Or like you're not just gonna move out to move out. So I so relate to that. And I mean, I literally just moved back in with my parents because they're like, "You need to save money? Okay, come here." Whereas
Yeah.
I feel like some people don't have that like that same, I don't know, the like family being sort of your anchor forever. It doesn't just magically dissipate when you're 18.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like family is like super important. What are some of your writing influences, do you think?
Hmm. My writing influences. I'm influenced by my life,
Mhm.
but I also feel like song wise, I feel like I'm really influenced by like the era of music when I was like a middle schooler, finally sort of like discovering music for myself rather than just like listening to what I was played or fed by parents and just like what was on like the radio or anything like that. But when I got into finding bands and that whole discovery, it was like the era of what that's called, like the late 2000s indie band rising, where it was like MGMT and um, local natives and alt J. Like that whole era really inspires me
Mhm.
still to this day. just because it's like they wrote great songs, but then they made them sound so cool. And that's like what I aspire to do.
Yeah, I think it's fun to like look back on like old performances from bands like that and like
Yeah.
be on stage in different like ways people have stage presence. Because
Hmm.
like, sometimes I was having this discussion with someone else that was on the pod. I feel like sometimes, I don't know, you have to really love an artist from I have to really love an artist for me to be able to watch them just like stand still and play instruments and
Hmm.
not do anything. But I don't know. I think it's just about aura, honestly, because sometimes I do like an artist that doesn't do anything, but sometimes I'm like, what are y'all doing? I feel like you don't care and you don't want to be here.
You know what it comes down to is that it's like if you can see their just like obsession with what they're doing,
Yeah.
or even like their confidence. I feel like if someone's just standing there and they don't seem like they're confident in what they're doing, that is to me, I'm like, well, this isn't fun. Cause like the whole point is you're on stage and you're like trying to get people to listen to you.
Mhm.
You gotta be like, I feel good about what I'm doing, not like, oh, I don't like this.
But I also think like there used to be like a mystery to artists also. I mean, like artists did interviews and things like that, but you weren't just so easily accessible. Like now I can just follow an artist on Instagram. I can watch their old videos without
Right.
being on YouTube or something.
Hmm. That's very true.
And the way the industry works, they want you to like push out a lot of stuff. So it
Yeah.
just,
It gets very like, I don't know, overwhelming to see all the artists just like, I feel like I've said the word overwhelming so many times already in this 20 minutes that we've been talking, but I feel that feeling so much because I feel like there's just a million and two people constantly trying to be like, listen to my song.
yeah.
And it's, yeah, there's something about being an artist now that just feels very like it's not that unique
Yeah.
anymore, which is cool because it's like amazing that so many people can just create and share their art. But then at the same time, it's like to find an audience in this day and age is very challenging.
Yeah. And it's hard to see how things translate because you could do really well online, but it doesn't mean it'll translate to people coming to a show.
And that's like that is my worst fear is like accidentally just going viral and then not being able to like sell out my headline shows because my numbers are like way bigger than what my actual fans are. Like I would rather have no streams and like 100 diehard fans than like a and million streams and like 10 fans, you know?
And I think it's just like also like playlisting and things like that because like you could be on a playlist and like a lot of people listen to that playlist and so that's driving up your number. I could talk about that for a long time, so we don't need to get into it, but yeah.
Um,
Do you have any new music coming soon?
I do. I have lots of new music coming. Um, I'm putting out the first song in a month, around a month from now. I'm trying to get it out like right before the show, which is March 1st, but it also might come out right after. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to start releasing just a bunch of music. I have it kind of batched out in like as a trilogy. So I'm going to start with this first part and then kind of see where it goes.
Yeah, that's cool. And so last year you released an EP in June titled Nancy and the Crooked Cowboy. And it's like based
Mhm.
on this fictional character, Nancy. He's addicted.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think drew you to come up with this character?
I mean, it's sometimes easier to talk about yourself in the form of another person. And I feel like the name Nancy came because we made the music in a woman named Nancy's cabin. We were like, okay, like let's call this Nancy.
Mhm.
And then as I was like finishing up the music, I was like, wow, this feels like me over the course of the last few years. And I liked the idea of it just like you still, I don't know, being like a little detached, you know? And so it's kind of fun to talk about it like Nancy's a fucking crazy person when really I'm like, maybe I am.
Yeah, I feel like it's easier to like analyze or like critique things if you're looking at something from like a third point of view.
Mhm.
Like I journal and like I like read over like stuff that I've written. I'm like, oh, this was a bad stage. And it's like if I could give myself advice, I'd be like, oh, this is not that serious. It's not anything that you need to be worried about.
Yeah, that's cool. I reread it. I should try doing that.
It's hard because it's embarrassing.
Yeah, I'm always like, um, next page, burn this shit. Like, I don't want to see what I'm saying.
No, like I was telling you, I found a bunch of old stuff. And when I was in middle school, I tried to journal. One of the entries was like, it was like Nicki Minaj, Drake, and Lil Wayne are some of my biggest inspirations. Um, they just really like know how to make me feel emotional or something like that. I can't remember what it said. It was so embarrassing. I was like, damn.
Oh my God, that's funny. I bet I would have had some weird ones on that too.
Yeah. And so I read like all, you have a Substack, and so I kind of like read all of the things and like part of, and like one of the earlier entries, you said part of like the human experience and the stage, like now we've been talking about it, like we have the internet. It's like easy to compare yourself to other people, and it can be fun
Mhm.
sometimes, but
Yeah.
how do you keep yourself from like going over the edge of like comparing yourself to others?
I feel like it's kind of become a cycle where if I'm on social media for too much time, I just know it's inevitable that I'm going to start to enter that thought loop of like, oh, this person's doing this and this person's doing that, and I'm just here and I haven't done this or whatever it is. And mine's really like mostly career oriented. Like I would imagine though, if I was like a 14-year-old on social media, it would be all like looks. Because I remember like Tumblr
Yeah.
using Tumblr and that being like so part of my like view of myself personally. Like
Yeah.
like I remember like the thigh gap Tumblr and like which is now it's funny because I think on TikTok there's now this thing going around where it's like legging leg.
Legs. I don't even know what that is. Like,
I don't know. I've just seen the people saying that and I'm just like I can't even. I feel like I'm too old for this now, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I think I checked out when like hip dips happened. I don't even know what that is either. I think I think part of it though is like with TikTok, it's like good intentioned people being like legging legs, you shouldn't talk about them. Like it doesn't matter. And then it's like coming on my For You page. And then everyone in the comments are like, what are legging legs? And
Uh-huh.
you didn't make that video. No one would know what legging.
Right. Yeah, I don't even it's so random. But so my I feel like my comparison is always like music related. And I end up just having to just talk myself off the ledge and be like, you know what? Because there's plenty of times where I'm like, I don't even think I can do this anymore. Because it's like, what am I even doing? Um, but then I always just come back to like everyone's going at their own pace. This is like your path you're on. There's no rush. Do you want to still do this because you love it? If the answer is still yes, then I just basically tell myself to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I feel like you could also look at other artists like that have blown up recently. Like Mitski is like 75th in the world on Spotify right now. And
Yeah.
like I don't know if I got to talk to Mitski or something and if you asked her that in 2013 that she'd think that would be happening. I don't think she'd say yes, probably, you know. Uh,
No. Yeah. That is so interesting. I haven't even thought about that. Like, I wonder if she likes that her music has blown up in the way that it has, or if she's a little bit like horrified by it.
yeah.
Because I imagine it's got to be weird because she's a good example though of an ideal because she had a massive fan base, you know.
But now it's
This
like
one like a little cherry on top.
yeah. And just other artists too, I feel like especially with TikTok, I think a lot of artists have blown up. Like artists that come to mind for me are like Surf Curse, like slash Current Joys. Like they were popular, like I don't know, they were popular-ish, but like now it's like a whole new level of popular, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Um, Steve Lacy, but I feel like Steve Lacy was already popular, but it's just like they're selling out stadiums that they were not could not probably do before the pandemic. And I'm like
Yeah,
to think about.
that is.
And I
What
also
do you think is
oh,
like, sorry.
sorry, go ahead. Sorry, I was
I
gonna
was just gonna say, what do you think is like next after TikTok? Because do you feel like it's gonna just how much longer are we gonna use it?
I don't know. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I'm trying to cut back on it. I feel
Yeah,
like
it feels
go back to longer form media. Like
yeah,
I don't know how YouTube is doing because like I feel like people aren't like I feel like I've heard a lot of YouTubers quitting, but I feel like a lot of people want to go back to longer form media. And I think
hmm,
that's what TikTok's trying to keep up with because like that's why they're like, hey, you can do 10-minute videos and things like that. Um,
hmm,
but I don't know. I feel like we're in a regressing, at least in my opinion, I'm in a regression. Like I'm going back to like I'm using a digital like my old digital camera, like my first digital camera that I had when I was little, and I'm starting a blog and I'm doing all this other weird stuff because I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't want my digital footprint to just be like me making videos and things, but I don't know. That's just a personal thing.
No, I feel like a lot of people are kind of doing that and like trying to go back to these older like technological things because everything now is so easy
Mhm.
and so like quick. And it's almost like you don't really need to like put any kind of thought into anything, which in a way is cool. But then on the other hand, it's just like it doesn't really like feel that inspiring sometimes, you know?
Yeah, I
There's
totally,
something like so much cool about taking photos on a film camera and like waiting for them to get developed. And then like when you get them sent to you, you're just like, oh, this is like Christmas morning. Like I
yeah,
had to wait for this rather than just like had them all at my fingertips the second that it
yeah.
was photographed.
And now they're like making apps to try and like keep up with that
Right.
and like give the illusion of a film photo. Yeah.
Wow, that's so crazy. I didn't even think about that.
No, yeah, I love taking film photos, but it's like I'm I'm gonna be a hater for a second.
Mhm.
I like because I've been shooting film for a long time, but
Mhm.
now everyone does, so it's like the price of film is so bad right now. Like
Oh yeah.
I used to buy like Kodak Ultramax 400s, like 10 pack for $50. It's like
Uh-huh.
200 now. Like on Amazon. I was like, that's a crazy markup.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I've gone back to having like I have my purse right here. I have like a weird ass digital camera that I got from home. Like she's so
Oh,
tiny.
I love that. Cool.
I also bring my film camera, but I'm like more conservative with it now because I'm like I'm too broke to afford what I was.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
but I don't know, I think we're regressing. I feel like anytime there's too much of something, we end up just like regressing back. And I feel like that's why, indie sleaze is becoming a thing again. And people are like, oh my God, remember when people went to parties and like were taking pictures and doing all these things. Um,
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think essentially find ourselves going back to that.
Hmm. I agree. And the whole like, I don't know, no one I keep seeing the clean girl aesthetic
Yeah.
is like no longer, which is really funny to me because I'm just like, my God. Also, I've been seeing a lot of videos where people are talking about losing the 10-step skincare routine because they realize that their skin actually like looks way worse when they use more products. And like if they just wash their face with soap and water and put a little bit of like
Yeah.
lotion on, they look like 10 times better than if they put like a serum and then hyaluronic whatever and this and that. We're just fed all this shit all the time. Like
Yeah. It's just like
it makes me want to, yeah, it is max it at like the highest level.
like then we're just cycling through things so fast. And so it's no
Mhm.
clean girl aesthetic, it's mob wife aesthetic or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like you can do whatever you want, you can take bits and pieces of everything and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm just like older and I'm not a teen because
Same.
God, it would suck to be a teen right now. Like there's
But
so many things.
yeah, it's scary, honestly.
Yeah. So then we can move into Red Eye, which is like essentially a song about self-love and
Mhm.
I don't know, realizing that you're engulfing another person so you don't have to worry about your own issues. I,
Mhm.
um, looking back on the song now, because I know you said that you've moved on to like a healthier relationship. Do you think
Mhm.
you have any advice for the person that wrote that song now that you're in a different place?
Yeah, I think it's something that I realized that I just have within myself um to always feel like I need to focus on somebody else before I focus on myself. Um, Part of me feels like it's just kind of like the nature of being a like woman, but then also, I don't know, my boyfriend now is really like sort of similar to that. Like, and so we both, I think we just do a good job now of like trying to recognize, like, okay, what are my needs? How do I focus on them? And not make whoever you're with feel like that's a problem,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. Like, I think putting up boundaries can be so difficult because we don't really like know them. And it shouldn't be bad of you to say, like, oh, I actually want to be alone tonight.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend, like, I want to like focus on doing this today rather than like hanging out. That shouldn't feel like you don't love that person or you don't want to see them. It should be like, okay, cool. Like, you doing that will actually make our relationship better.
Yeah.
And before, like, when I was really in the thick of that song, like, I just did not, I couldn't, I felt like I had to just like always cater to other things. Um, and I think that's also just growing up and like maturing maybe a little bit. But I don't know. I do think I still have the tendencies. I just now I'm like very aware and I try to
Yeah.
get to the other side of them and like see it when it's happening and be like, okay, why am I doing this?
Hmm.
And I think it's helpful when you're with someone that's healthier and can like push you to be more driven towards yourself because at the end of the day we are all just like alone,
Yeah.
and I don't mean that in like a like sad way. I mean it in like a
Yeah.
you're your own person, like are gonna be with yourself for the rest of your life. That's it. Like relationships are obviously important, but they are like what you want to make of them.
Yeah. It's like that Fiona Apple song where it's like it's all in your head and and she's like, but so's everything because
Right.
you're only with yourself. Yeah, and I think it's
Mhm.
the way we're socialized. I think uh I I think we're socialized to want to be in codependency. And like when people see others not assimilating to that, they're like, what? You can do that?
Mhm.
I think like I don't know, there was I can't remember like a New Yorker article or something where they were talking about this couple. It's either that they had like a townhome and like there were two separate apartments, or they just had like a separate bedroom. And the comments were like,
Mhm.
oh, so you guys don't love each other, like you guys don't sleep in the same bed, like blah 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 blah. And it's like, I don't know. I'm like, that's their relationship. And if that's what works for them, then that's fine. And I'm like, and I feel like people need space. And like that's how people get into such heated arguments because you're like consistently in each other's.
Yeah. I joke around with my boyfriend. I'm like, the idea of because I remember like listening to Gwyneth Paltrow on one of her Goop things talk about how her and her current boyfriend have their own houses. And she's like, I will never like not have my own house with a partner. She learned that about herself. And I like joke around with him. I'm like, I really love the idea of like both owning a house. He's like what? I'm like, yeah, it's just like it feels like you still kind of like have your autonomy, but you probably won't even like you'll probably stay together more than not. But he's like, okay, you do you, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's like people are like Reddit, it's like, am I the asshole? And like all these other things. Or like on a TikTok, like, hey guys, was I in the wrong? Or like, is this crazy to do in a relationship? And like sometimes I watch those videos and like I agree and I have opinions, but it's like at the end of the day, that's their relationship. If it works for them,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say anything about it, you know? Like,
Oh yeah. And also you realize like there's so many different like the two people in a relationship have two complete different perspectives like you, on their relationship, you know? Have you ever like had a conversation with two friends about something that's going on between the two of them? And then you have one conversation with one friend and they tell you their perspective. Then you talk to another friend and theirs is like completely different perspective, but they had the same exact like issue, you know?
yeah.
It just reminds you of like when you're in a relationship, you really are just like both trying to figure out how to like get understanding or whatever. And it's obviously going to be hard because we are our own people. That's just like what I keep reminding myself. It's like,
Yeah. And I think it can go like extend to like any relationship. I feel like I used to live with someone that was like an only child. And I feel
mhm,
like only child syndrome is a thing because it's like they don't tell you where they're going, like they don't give you like courtesy, but not in like a negative way. But just, like
yeah,
it's like they've never had to do that because they don't have siblings, really. Like
yeah, oh,
I'm consistently being like, hey guys, I'm heading out. I'm going X, Y, and Z and doing
mhm.
ABC. And
No,
you know,
literally, I'm like always like, do you want to track me? I don't care. Like, sure.
I love having defense locations. I secretly got
Yeah, just
my dad's location. I was like, he'll say no if I ask, and I secretly did it, and I was just like, I have to.
wait, who do you have?
My dad's.
I did that with my mom.
Yeah, my mom gave it to me willingly, but like I'm like my dad's gonna say no, so I need to find a way. I'm like I need to know where everyone is, and people need to know where I am, you know.
I so relate to that. I don't know if it's like um a symptom of anxiety or what, but knowing that I can like if I need to see where they are, I can, you know? And I'm like, anyone can see mine. I don't give a shit. But some people do not relate. They're like, you're so weird. That's so toxic. I can't believe that. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'm weird and I'm toxic. I don't care.
Yeah. I don't feel like it's weird or toxic. It's just like you want that extra security that people are safe. I never do it. I'm never like tracking people and like seeing where they're going. I'm just like, oh,
No.
where's my roommate? Oh, they're at work right now. Where's my sister? Oh, she's at school.
Hmm.
Like, it's not
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Um, so since you were talking about anxiety, like let's talk a little bit about like, and attachment styles and how it like relates to the song Orion. And
Uh-huh.
so like I took a test yesterday just to see what my attachment style was.
Uh-huh.
I feel like it was wrong.
What did it say?
But it was secure, but I feel like I am definitely avoidant in my relationships. I was like, I don't know. I think part of the reason, I don't know, I feel like I'm self-aware, but not in a way that's healthy. It's like it's in a way that's avoidant. And
Like you will talk yourself out of things.
yeah.
Yeah, that sounds pretty. That one thing to me is like a pretty avoidant quality, but I don't know. You can still be. I feel like I think I have tendencies of all of them sometimes. Like I used to think that I was really anxious in relationships, and now that I'm with someone that's like not avoidant, I feel like maybe I tend to lean more avoidant in the relationship, which is really funny because I think I always thought like, oh man, like I guess I'm always going to be the anxious one.
Mhm.
And then now I'm like, I'm definitely like, I'm secure. But then there's times when my boyfriend will be anxious and then it makes me be like a little bit avoidant because I'm just like, oh no, like this, like, I don't know how to deal with this. Um, Whereas before, yeah. So I think that you can, I don't know. I feel like different people can bring out different things in you. I do think that some people are just like set,
Yeah.
maybe.
I feel
But
like
I've kind of like floated around.
yeah. And so you wrote that song with your friend Ryan and you
Hmm.
create the um EP. How was
Yeah,
that?
the song was written so fast. I feel like we were just playing like he's an insane musician, so he was like playing that on the keys. It started with me like jokingly being like, "Oh, Ryan," like,
Mhm.
"Oh, Ryan." And then I was like, "Oh, Ryan, like the constellation. That would be really cool if we wrote a song about like someone being hard to reach and like using it as like a metaphor for the relationship and them like pushing you away kind of thing, but you also being like, I'll always kind of be there for you." Um, I would say I don't know, he in our friendship can be a little bit like standoffish and not express things. And so I think for him, writing the song was like a pretty, I don't know, it was so easy. It was like we're kind of like writing about him in a way, but like, and then him and like all the relationships that he's sort of talked and shared with me about, and like me knowing how I previously had been in relationships and like always felt like, oh, like I see your tendencies and I see what you're doing kind of thing. But yeah, I feel like the song was really like for both of us for very different reasons, like a special song to write.
Mhm.
Because I think on his end, he's like, I can't speak for him. So I don't know. But I feel like he was like, whoa, I feel like I relate to this like Ryan character, Orion, like whatever that is. And then I'm like, I'm always on the other end of this.
Yeah.
I'm the person that's like waiting on you. But it was a very cool song to write.
And then the next song on the EP you named after an Otessa Moshfegh Big book called My
Yeah.
Year Station. A book
Mhm.
essentially about a woman who's like rotting away in their room. How do you keep yourself from like getting into that?
The song was definitely like a direct reflection of post like the years of COVID and that whole time literally feeling like I woke up and we were in a different year, like years in the future. And I was just like, oh my God, I don't even know what I did. And I think that that sort of made me realize like, I guess I have these tendencies to like, and I do think, I honestly feel like everyone does this. I feel like everyone just like pushes everything down just to get through life. So you like go through life and then you're not actually experiencing it.
Yeah.
And because it can be so stressful sometimes. And I think that this song was really like about that and me realizing like, oh fuck, like I have this problem where I will just like suddenly
Yeah.
be months later and I'm like, wow, what did I do? Like,
Yeah. I recently read an interview with Ian Shelton of Military Gun, and they were talking about like functioning, and they're like, I don't know if I'm functioning or just like running, like I'm like, like a computer just like running, going through like
yeah.
the things like that. I think that's
Hmm.
I feel like there's months where I'm like, wow, 3 months have passed
Hmm.
through the motions of life.
Yeah.
And I think because I bought
And then
this,
I think
oh, go for it.
I was just gonna say, I think that that's like a, a product of being depressed but functioning during it.
Mhm.
That's at least what I found for myself is like the times when I'm the lowest are like the moments when it's like, okay, just push through this time and do the bare minimum just so that you're like living still.
Yeah, because like I I bought this book because you've read it, right?
Hmm.
I bought this book when it first came out in like 2018 or 2019, whenever it came out. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
real, so I put it down and I never revisited it. And so now
Hmm.
I'm like, do I think I'd be strong enough to read it now? I feel like it'd probably be fine.
I think you should try giving it another shot. Um, I I loved her writing style. It's really funny because I always thought like that was gonna become a movie, and then Eileen became a movie, and I was like,
Oh, it is
what?
becoming a
They
movie.
wanted to do it with it is, it actually is.
Yeah, because I am gonna give it another chance because Yorgos Lanthimos is directing it. Like they directed The Favorite, Poor Things, The Lobster.
Oh
So,
my God.
yeah, it's like in the process of being written. I think it's like in pre-production stages. Yeah, but it's being written. It's gonna be made into a movie.
That's so exciting. I
I'm
love
glad I
him.
could break that news for you.
Well, because I've like seen people talking about it, but I just was like, I don't know if it's happening. I don't know if it's happening.
Yeah.
That makes me really excited because I feel like he'll make it. He's like the perfect person to do that.
Yeah, I think so too. Because he's like weird, quirky. Have you seen Poor Things?
Obsessed.
I love that movie so much. I want to go see it again.
So
Like,
good.
and The
I
Favorite, so good. Like, I just like
favorite. I
I
just watched The Lobster.
Yeah, I'm gonna they're AMC's doing a thing where like they're playing The Lobster in AMC theaters in February. I'm gonna try and watch it there. I haven't seen it in theaters. Go
It's
for it.
definitely weird. Definitely a weird movie.
Yeah, I like the way he like writes dialogue. It's
Yeah.
and standoffish. Um, yeah, but I'm excited for him to make the movie. It'll be fun.
I gotta try and find a way to weasel my song into it.
Yeah, get on that licensing and stuff.
The soundtrack, here we come.
And then the next song you covered a song by Fugazi. Tell us about like your love for them.
That song just kept popping up. Like I Shazammed it so many different times in different places, and I was like, clearly I really connect to this song and I need to sing it. I was just like, I called Ryan and I was like, I want to can I just come over and to the studio and we record this? And he's like, all right, I guess so. And then once we did it, I was like, oh, this has to go on the project. Like it felt like a perfect addition to it because it was just like, I don't know, it kind of summed up a lot of the my year of rest and relaxation and then just like being drained emotionally
Mhm.
and what that feels like.
Yeah. And then like the last song, which is part of like the title, Crooked Cowboy. It's like
Mhm.
I think that's how I discovered you is like on TikTok, like you promoting the song. Um, it
Mhm.
started really intense, like I want to be you, like be inside you. And like I think it's just like a crazy opening and like a crazy opening for first. Like how like what like made you be in that headspace?
I feel like the craziest part about the song was that it was like 10 in the morning when it was it's started to be conceived. And I just really we had been talking about being in a relationship and how you like want to consume
Hmm.
the person whole. Like the like, oh, like do you ever just like is close, never close enough? And I was talking about how that for me is like, I don't know if it comes from anxiety or what, but like I'm always like, I just like want to literally swallow you. And so that was kind of like where that first started. And then I think like it was during a phase of my life where I had just like, I don't know, I was just being really reckless and like thinking that that was like empowering to me. But then it actually would make me feel like way worse about myself and not powerful. And I kind of just wanted to tackle that in a song and feel like I'm saying this and I'm like taking ownership of it.
Hmm.
And yeah. So the song means like so many there's like so many different things to me, but and it's it's a tough one. Some people like my mom can't like she's like I hate that song. Like older generations just like they honestly prove my some of my point as well is just like you hear this and you don't think that this is like appropriate or ladylike or okay for a woman to say, but we've allowed men for years and years to like be sexualizing women. And then like if I'm doing that about a guy, like I love saying he's a pretty boy too, because it's like almost like making men more like feminine, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And like a to have like a female be in the more like masculine and dominant role feels so uncomfortable for people.
Hmm. Kind of just like have the opposite of what is like status quo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why I love that song because I feel like I don't know, I feel like the best art elicits a reaction and like has the ability to make people really think and question. And I feel like that song does that.
Mhm.
And it will always like be really important to me because of that.
Yeah. And so you gave a playlist for today, and it's titled
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually miss being a teenager, but I do sometimes. And I feel like we've already like covered a little bit of that
Yeah.
today. So it's like just essentially, about nostalgia. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about moving back home. Is like everything the same as like when you were younger, or is it like completely different?
No, it's very different. I'm in a different room. I painted. I've like really tried to make it feel like myself now. And like I didn't want to just be like staying in a guest bedroom there. So my parents have been kind enough to allow me to revamp the room, give it a little makeover. I can't imagine what that would be like moving back into like a shrine of your childhood. That would be crazy. My bedroom was like as soon as I was out of high school, like it completely changed. So I don't even remember what it looked like to be honest.
Yeah. No.
Um, but yeah, so it's nice. It's like it feels like different, but being in the town and like it's a very small town and you run into people, it just reminds me of like I don't know, it's the first time where I've been like, wow, I I feel like I've gotten older
Yeah.
and that's a weird feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever I go home, my bedroom is essentially the same, and it's just so funny because like it's very Tumblr-esque. Like I have all these like I have that like Tumblr photo wall of like printed pictures, just like all from Tumblr, and like a wooden board that says adventure is out there, and it's just like funny coming home and being like, oh, this is like a shell of who I was, um, as a teen.
Wow, that's cool.
It's
That's
fun.
funny.
And then I feel like sometimes when I'm reminiscing on like what it was like to be a teenager, I tend to look at it through rose-colored glasses.
Yeah.
Just like, I'm like, oh my God, she didn't know that like being an adult is so hard. Like,
Hmm.
I don't know. Like she was, I don't know. I feel like as a teenager, you're always like, I'm so excited to be an adult. And as an adult, you're like, damn, I wish I had like savored being a teenager more, you know?
Yep, it's always the grass is greener on the other side.
Yeah, and I feel like as a child, you feel like when you grow up, you're gonna have everything figured out. But I'm just like a 26-year-old baby, and I'm like, I still don't know what I'm
Hmm.
doing. And,
Hmm.
you know, when I was like 15, I'm like, by 21, I'm gonna like know what I want to do and all those other things. But like now I'm like, I don't even know what I want to do now. Like maybe I should change careers. Maybe I should do something else.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like that's I guess the reality of your 20s, the decade of 20s is like just uncertainty and it's like growth in like a whole other way,
Yeah.
I think, because you're finally like an actual like human who has responsibilities for yourself and like your whole life you were kind of told everything you needed to do and then once you get into your 20s you're like, "Oh, I don't have like that sort of guiding light right now. I'm just kind of like going by my own intuition, and that is so frightening."
Yeah. Yeah, because you don't have anyone, a safety net to fall back on. You're like, these choices are mine. My life is
Hmm. Hmm.
mine. And I feel like, yeah, because when I was younger, I feel like my parents had like guided me towards a path. And like I
Mm,
didn't agree with the path at the time, but like when you're an adult, you're like, wait, is this the path that I want to take? Do I want to do
mm,
it anymore?
yeah.
A gut-wrenching decision to be like, okay, now I have to split off and go on another path because I don't think I'm
Mhm.
gonna be on this one anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah,
But that's what's cool about life is you can change it.
it's life, baby.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so you sent in a few things of like
Mhm.
media and such that um remind you and like give you nostalgia, like 10 things I hate about you, which I love. I rewatch that movie every year. I love that movie so much. And
I mean, young Heath Ledger is just like, oh my God, he's so good looking.
like in this, like the cast is so stacked. Like it's like Keith Ledger, Julia Stiles, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Gabrielle Union, Allison Janney.
It's so good.
Yeah, so I rewatched it this morning and I love it so much. I want to read the book that Miss Perky, like Allison Janney's character, is writing. Like
Yeah,
I want to read her erotic fiction. I wish that was like a book that existed.
that would be really cool if they just went the extra mile and
Extra Mile and made that be.
did that.
Yeah,
Damn, yeah, that movie's good. I gotta watch it. I probably haven't seen it for like a year or two. But yeah, I feel similarly about that movie. It's like one that just always, you kind of want to come back to it.
my favorite rom-com. Like I have a letterbox. It's in my top four because I literally just watch it all the time.
I just got a Letterboxd. I'm trying to get more into watching movies and and seeing what other people are watching. So I'll have to give you a follow on there.
Definitely.
Is that what you do on it? You follow people, right?
That you follow people and
Yeah.
then you see other people's like reviews and things like that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then there's just like so many like iconic quotes in that movie. Like we were talking about using the word overwhelmed, like Gabrielle Union's character, she's like, I know you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed? Which is so funny to me.
Oh, that's really funny.
And I feel like as an angsty teenager, I related to Julia Stiles' character a lot. Because like there's a point where Cameron, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he's like, this is all the things that Julia Stiles likes, like Thai food, feminist prose, and angry girl music of the indie rock persuasion. And I'm like, that is so me.
Yeah. It really, they really did something timeless with that movie,
Yeah. And like some of it's cringe, but
which is really cool.
yeah, I'm like, some of it's cringe, but in the
Yeah.
best. Like some of the lines are ahead of its time. And I just think
Yeah.
that anytime you have a Shakespeare romance adaptation, it's gonna be good.
Yeah. It's tried and true.
Mhm. And then like another pick that you had was Scream, which is another thing that I almost like I was like, wow, you have so many things that I love so much. Like Scream is another movie that I like rewatch every Halloween. But it's actually kind of recent to me because I only ever first watched it like 2 or 3 years ago. And when I watched it,
What? Mhm.
I was like, this is it's like
Did you
no
did you watch it and then go into oh, did you watch it and then like binge watch all of the other movies or are
I've watched all the other movies now, but I just watched Scream originally and then I was like, wow, this is good.
yeah.
I was scared to watch the other ones. But like I think I like all of them in their own way, you know?
Hey, I actually will not hate on any of the new Screams. I anytime I watch go and rewatch Scream, it just makes me want to watch the rest of them. And honestly, the fact that that is like what happens is so like that's cool to me that they just like I don't know, it's just like you want to see, you want to know like there's like something about the world that they create.
Yeah, and I like how they make
Woodsboro and it's just like the characters. Though I will say the last one, I
yeah.
mean the one with Jenna Ortega, aren't as charming because there's something about like the like old camera and like the old outfits and it not being set in the modern day. But the new one just they really like they did me dirty because I just didn't want those things to happen.
I liked because we're on six. I like Scream 5, but Scream 6, I was like, it was okay, but it was still fun. It was still like fun, a fun little journey, but it's not the best one. I love,
No, I'm talking about I think it was Scream 8.
oh, 8?
Which one just came out? Is that Scream?
Let me let me do a quick Google.
Was that Scream 6? I thought there was way more, but
Yeah, we're on Scream 6. They have a Scream 7 that's gonna come out, but we're on.
okay, okay. So Scream, you like Scream 6?
I didn't like it that much. I still thought it was fun though, you know?
It's fun, but I was just more sad.
Yeah, it was more depressing. I think my favorites are like Scream, Scream 4, and Scream 2. Those are
Is
my,
Scream 4 with Hayden Panettiere?
yeah, and Emma Roberts.
Yeah, that one's good. How about when they bring her back?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I was like, first of all, her haircut was so bad.
Yeah. I
I
was
don't
like,
know who let,
I'm like, why did we do this?
why did they let her do that?
Yeah. But just like the original Scream will always have a special place in my heart because like the cast is just so hot too. Like I
Yeah.
love Matthew Lillard. And
Yeah, it's a good one.
mhm. And then I just think that it the original does such a good job of like being funny at the same time and being like making fun of horror movies, but also at the same time being a good horror movie.
Hmm. Yeah, it's like it's just I feel like one of the genius ones, honestly.
And then I won't bring up all of the things we talked about because we've been talking for a long time. Uh,
Yeah.
but you mentioned a book like Go Ask Alice, and I remember reading that book in middle school and it being like I'm being like, oh my God, I'm so scared to do anything.
I remember like my mom wouldn't let me. And anything that my mom was like, you can't do, I obviously was like, well, why can't I
Mhm.
watch it or just watch it, see it, read it? Um, and that book was one of those things where I was just like, okay, fine. And then I didn't read it until like, I think I was maybe in high school
Mhm.
or something. Um, but yeah, I always loved reading stuff that was more like just mystery crime based or like I loved Nancy Drew as a kid, like obsessed with her.
Mhm.
And yeah, that book was dark. I gotta reread that because it's so short too.
Yeah, it's 90 pages. But
Just like a little thing.
did you know that it's like fake? Like
It
it's
is.
yeah, it's not big. Cause I recently, like a year ago, I saw a video of someone talking about it and like talking about a book. I brought it out. It's called Unmasked Alice. It's essentially about how the person that wrote these is like a scammer and like took people's stories and like maximalized them to like make like induce fear and kind of like get donations because they have other books and there's another one called like Asking Jay or something. No, Jay's Journal. And that's about the satanic
Mhm.
panic. And it kind of is in like a similar vein. And yeah, like none of it was real. It was just like, don't do drugs or this will happen to you, you know?
Whoa. Yeah.
And because it was anonymous, like they were able to get away with it and things like that. I haven't read the book yet, but I assume it will be good. I just haven't gotten to it.
I that's how I am with books now. Like I'll like I have so many that I'm like reading because I'll start them and then I'm like, oh, what about this book? And
Yeah.
then what about this book? Um, but that's really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
So when you reread it, you can like reread it through a new lens. You're like, wow, this is.
Yeah, I'll be like, this is a fraud.
Yeah. Because I did reread it last year because I was like, I'm gonna reread the book and then I'm gonna start this. I reread
Uh-huh.
and start this.
That one's a lot thicker.
Yeah, it's really thick. It's intimidating. Like, so I was like, I'll start it eventually,
Yeah.
but it's fine. Yeah, thank you for coming on. It's been a real fun time. We've just been
Thanks
flying through.
for having me.
Yeah, do you have any? I know you have a show on March 1st in LA,
Mhm.
location TBA. I'll link it in the episode. Do you have anything else that you want to plug? Or
Just to prepare for new music because it's coming. It's coming soon. And I'm like, as soon as it starts, it's not stopping for a long time. Like I'm like song every 5 weeks, five.
nice. So you guys have
Wow.
been waiting, you'll be fed every 5 weeks.
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, well,
Thanks for having me.
thank you all for tuning in. Everything will be linked in the description, and see y'all next time.